All right, welcome back to another episode of the 805 Live podcast. I'm Sergio Gonzalez, where we pull back the curtain on all things real estate here in the 805 and beyond. Today, I'm with my good friend, Joseph Focil from Focil Construction Design, right here in the 805. And super excited to share with you not only his story around his business, a great business that he's built here in the community, but also the wonderful work that he's doing for people's most precious asset, their home. So welcome, Joseph. Thanks again for taking time to come meet with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Sergio. It's a pleasure to be here. It's so nice to, what you've built here as well. I see your studio is just amazing.
Yeah,
love what you've done with 805 Live. So
yeah,
congratulations
it's awesome.
to you as well.
So tell us, share with us how Focil Construction came about. What were you doing before you created this business?
So Focil Construction came about, I would say almost probably going on to the 8th year now. And it's all started with design. I've always had a passion for design. It's been my thing from childhood. My sister's in design, some of my family's in design. So it's in the blood. But one of the things I noticed back, when I was a kid is that a lot of the homes, I lived in the first neighborhood, so I'm local to here, the craftsmanship was really bad. And that's one of the things that it was in the back of my head when I was growing up is like, I know there's a way of doing things better.
Right.
I know there's a way of designing these homes better, or at least trying to remodel something that's already been built.
Yeah, because the whole community is really built around the 70s and 80s, right?
Absolutely.
And I think design has changed. The way people live has changed.
Right.
We have some of these old school homes where they still have formal living and formal dining, and they're just used as playpens,
Yeah, and you see a lot of walls everywhere, and like doors opening the incorrect way, hallways maybe too crammed, and especially in the kitchen. So kitchen's kind of where we really specialize in. It's what we really love. It's in our DNA, because we believe that kitchens are really where you share the memories with the family, right? That's where the memories are created. That's where you live those experiences with the family. And also, to your point, it also creates that equity in the home, right? So it's a really important asset within the home.
Right.
So that's really where our specialty is and expertise is in the kitchen. And a lot of these homes, First Neighborhood, Thousand Oaks, all in this region, Newbury Park, Gore Hills, Calabasas, a lot of the kitchens that were built even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago are just terrible in design. Like, everything cabinetry just placed incorrectly. The quality in the track homes is it's unbearable to see.
Right.
Doors, hinges falling off. The paint job is terrible. So we try, one of the things when I built this business was like, let's take a different approach. Let's try to really think outside the box and create a beautiful kitchen. We also have a kitchen showroom, but when we design a kitchen, it's not about putting as many cabinets in a kitchen. Let's try to just sell more cabinets. It's first, let's design this beautiful kitchen and let the cabinets go in afterwards, right? Let cabinets be kind of a second thought rather than the first thought of designing a kitchen.
Right. So at what point did you were you in construction before, or were you in design before, and how did that come about?
So before we were flipping homes. Okay. So we were buying and selling property here in Thousand Oaks locally. Okay. And that, I believe we got very involved, and I got very involved in the design. I thought, I was probably dedicating too much time to design just because I liked everything to be really well done. And you represented us in a few sales. Yeah. And I decided that, to me, I think it was, I would be doing a better job focusing just on the construction side to clients rather than us doing the development and the design and the real estate investment. So that's how it really came about.
Awesome. And so now you're on year 9. Is that what
we started in 2015, 16, around there. So around
6-7 years now?
7 years, in the making. Yeah. So since we formed Focil Construction. And putting a lot of hard work into this. Obviously, I didn't start with the showroom. I started working inside my home. I was working from home, and then I got a little office in Westlake, and then a bigger office in Westlake, and then we decided to invest in a showroom, and kind of really been growing from there.
Well, I mean, I the last time I went to the showroom, it definitely was a showpiece and a showstopper. It looked really nice. So if you haven't had the opportunity if anybody hasn't had the opportunity to visit the showroom, I certainly encourage you. Maybe have more of those wine mixers.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was fun. So now that you started the company, you're out designing, you're out building your business, and now you have a team behind you, right?
Right.
Share a little bit about that.
So we have a team of interior designers, Samantha and Stephanie. We also have Catalina, my wife, our office manager of the showroom, me at the contractor. So I go out there and really kind of dedicate more towards the quality and the construction, and make sure that all the projects are done correctly. And we have our labor workers, our team, our electricians, plumbers, framers, etc. That are part of that team.
Right. And correct me if I'm not wrong, I think the last time you shared with me that these people, like you do very little subcontracting out. These people are on staff.
Right,
like they only work for Focil Construction.
Right. Depending also on what we're doing. So if it's big structural work that we're doing, sometimes we subcontract out like steel work. Obviously, that has to be done by certified structural welder. So that's subcontracted out, but certain areas depending. But we have our own in-house framers. We do our own concrete. We have our own electrician that are part of our employees of the company. Right.
So I think that's probably one of maybe some of the differentiating factors for you as compared to some other contractors where they're kind of everybody's subcontracted out, and you kind of are at their mercy whether they show up on time, they do a good job or not, and maybe they've overextended themselves. And I mean, I'm sure you hear nightmare stories like that all the time. Yeah.
So I mean, that kind of gives us an advantage in a way, because we're able to stay on point as far as schedule. Our team has been with us for years, and they follow what we instruct them to do, and we know the level. They know the level of quality that we want, even from a concrete or a framing perspective. We want to make sure that everything's level, framed within certain dimensions. So they are on the same level playing field that we
What do you think consumers need to be asking a contractor when they're thinking about doing a kitchen remodel or a major project? What are, like, when they're interviewing or selecting a contractor, what are some of the questions they should be asking that makes them, helps them make sure that they're selecting a quality contractor? What do you think some of those questions should be?
Wow, that's a good question that you're asking. If I was a homeowner asking and trying to search for the right contractor, to me it's based on design, right? What designs can you bring me? How many kitchens have you designed? Let me see some of your work. I think that really has to speak for itself, right? Even though you might hire a contractor that doesn't perhaps have a showroom, which is totally okay, because we also sell cabinets and designs to contractors directly. But I think it's more of like the craftsmanship, the level of detail they're putting behind every job that they're at, right? Are they making sure those cabinets are installed correctly per plans? Are they making sure those cabinets are, are they lasering it, making sure they're nice and level? Even from the placement of the handles, making sure that, the templates are done correctly, so the handles aren't crooked. Just that level of detail, right? That's really important. And then that they're standing behind their work. Do they have references that clients can call just to check up to see how they did on past projects? That's important. You don't see many good contractors out there. I think there's several I know in the area that are phenomenal. That are our competition, but it's good to see that out there, that we have good contractors in this community. and treat those contractors well, because we don't want them to go away, because it's a hard business to be in to begin with.
And especially with the supply chain, right? I hear people are now ordering appliances before they even start the construction or demo, because it's taking so long to get things in.
That's absolutely right. That's actually one of the policies we have in our business is, once the kitchen has been completely designed and purchased and paid for, we ask that all appliances and cabinetry be delivered at the home before we even begin the construction. So we don't begin any construction until all the appliances, plumbing fixtures, electrical fixtures, cabinetry has been delivered at the home, at the homeowners.
And that's probably even better, because that way they have a usable a kitchen still, versus demoing it. Now you don't even have a kitchen and you're waiting. Oh, it's further delayed. And I think that provides probably for a negative experience, and they probably think it's your fault.
Right, absolutely, yeah. If we were to start, like, for example, appliances sometimes are like a year out. So if we were to start we start demo next month, they're going to be without an appliance for a year.
Yeah.
In some cases, some of the cabinetry from our custom side is taking, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, to some of our other lines are taking, 12, 24 weeks. Right. So it depends also, we want to make sure that, it's very easy for the client. A general kitchen is taking kitchen remodel is taking away about 6 to 8 weeks.
Right. And so what would you say for, what are the ranges of budgets that you're dealing with when it comes to remodels?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's something we get a lot is, okay, what can you give us a ballpark figure before we even have a design, right? It's very hard to give a ballpark figure before you even have a design. A general kitchen remodel for an average home is going anywhere about, I would say, in the 70, 80. That does not include any appliances or removing the load-bearing walls, any structural walls like that.
Right. Yeah.
If you are removing load-bearing walls and there's structural construction that's going in, being involved, then you're probably in the $150,000, $200,000. It's not uncommon to see a kitchen costing $150,000 to $200,000.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're putting in Sub-Zeros, Viking appliances, or Miele. People say it differently, I think, right? Miele. But
I think you said it right.
Yeah.
I have trouble pronouncing that too.
But I mean, I see a huge range of what kitchens can cost depending on materials.
Right.
And now, of course, materials are even more expensive. Right. But it surely is giving the highest return, I think, for people in their homes. And
to touch a little more on the cost of the kitchen. So some cabinets, so for example, we have clients that spend actually just $60,000, $70,000 just on cabinetry. Or $50,000 in cabinetry. Right. So that, it depends on the budget of the homeowner. It depends on the size of the kitchen. Really what they're trying to accomplish. Are we getting rid of soffits that have electrical in them, plumbing, stuff like that, which can increase the cost of that construction. So it's very hard to say, what's the average, because that depends a lot on the design and the quality, right? I mean, I've been in some $5 million homes and it still doesn't even have soft close because the cabinets are that, or they said they remodeled it, and you do the little test, let's just see the quality, and boom, it's still slamming. You're like, come on. That's true. I mean, you see it on, $3-4 million homes where they're using really cheap cabinetry. It's a flip. Right. So it depends. It depends on the client's budget. So, everybody, a lot of clients are so used to watching these HGTV shows, right? They're watching, what is it? The brothers, what is it? What do they call them? The guys on, right. I know what you're talking about, right? And they have like all these 3D models, and you visually see like this wall going away and this, island being installed. Like, are you guys able to provide models similar to that? Like, how do you paint that vision or that picture in a realistic way for people? So that's a great question. So our interior designers, we invite the client over to our showroom. part of the process is that we go out there and we take measurements of the kitchen, right? And then the client comes in, and then we have a full 3D rendering on screen for them, and a big television or on the computer for them, and they can see how it is to have an open floor plan, right? A wall being removed, with a full 3D rendering of the cabinetry with lighting, pendant lights. Just it's a very realistic rendering. Okay. It almost seems like you're in that kitchen, right?
Are they wearing the VR
they
goggles?
Could. We do have those, but people get a little dizzy using those. So usually people just want to see it on a screen. Yeah. But the renderings are so realistic, and we put a lot of time into the design. Right. That's actually where it all starts, the design. Right. So we're picking out from pendant lights to the stone that you're using on the countertop, the handles. So it's a lot of investment on our end goes into the design. Not only for us to go out there and measure, but the time the designer is behind the scenes putting all this stuff together on the computer.
Right. Okay. So what's next for Focil Construction? Like, you're bringing on designers, you have architects, right, as part of the team. Like, what's the vision? Where do you see Focil Construction in 3-5 years out from now?
Well, that's a great question. Where I see the business heading on 3 years is kind of really growing more in the community, and then kind of really going more into LA. Into more of the SoCal area. As far as a 5 to 10 year, plan of the business, to get a little more into development, where we're building our own homes.
Nice.
Not building for clients, but building and designing our own homes from scratch.
Oh, wow.
That is our ultimate goal for as a construction company. For now, we're mainly focused really on, remodel and full home remodels, kitchen specifically. But 10 years from today, I do see ourselves kind of doing, with your help, trying to find the land, if there's any left in the area.
Yeah, right.
Or taking down existing homes, just taking them down and then rebuilding something from scratch.
Yeah. Well, there's been so many fires with houses going down, and there was a lot of lots for sale because people were scared to either rebuild or they just didn't want to go through that hassle. So I think there's some opportunity, always out there. To quickly touch on, because I think people often, do you need a permit to do kitchen remodel or things like that? Or is it kind of just go?
You do need 98% of the kitchen remodels need a permit. I mean, at the moment you're moving electrical, something of plumbing, a P-trap, you need to pull permits. You do. If you have more than one sheet of drywall used in a kitchen remodel, you need to pull a construction permit, and that's in Thousand Oaks. Thousand Oaks is really easy to work with. You go in there, there's no line. The staff is super friendly. We pull permits on all our kitchen remodels. Every single kitchen remodel, we pull a permit. We provide a floor plan to the city, and it's done relatively quick. Okay. It takes a little longer when you're moving structural walls. You obviously have to have engineer sign off on the plans. It takes 3 to 4 weeks to have it approved by the city,
And I know you do other stuff aside from kitchen remodel, because I know you've helped some clients do some other things. Share a little bit about some other things that you've done with homes.
I thought you were asking about my mountain biking skills. Other things we've done with homes. So we focus on full homes. So from patio covers, additions. So we do a lot of additions. So we did one last month where clients want to extend, maybe add 100, 200, 500, 1,000 square feet to their home, which it's not uncommon to see right now because the cost of homes are so high. So people are like figuring, I'm just going to add square footage to my home rather than, buy something that I still have to remodel, right? Right. So you're seeing that's a service that we've seen a lot lately that has increased, that a lot of people have asked for. And another one is patio covers. A big thing here in SoCal is just outdoor living, right? Everyone is outside because of the weather. It's just incredible out here, especially in Thousand Oaks, Westlake. It's so cool. So everyone wants to be outside by the fire pit or the barbecue. So everyone wants us to design these really nice patio covers with like a fireplace with a built-in TV, Sonos speakers, like a fan. So that's a service that you've seen a lot of lately.
Okay. Well, awesome. So how can people reach you and your team to get a quote, to get a design experience, and talk about their home? Tell them where they can find you.
Well, you guys can look us up on focilconstruction.com. We just launched our new website a couple of months ago. It's phenomenal. You could also follow us on Instagram. I'm not sure what the hashtag is there, but follow us on Instagram, and you can look at all our current projects and past projects and current stories that we're always updating live.
And you always could follow their trucks around town. I always see you guys as design team and construction shops around town. So be sure to get in touch with Joseph if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, remodeling your house, extending your house, right here in the 805. And appreciate you guys staying tuned with us for this episode. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, ring that bell, and follow us on Instagram. See you guys next time. All right, bye.